The cancellations were not really led by the leadership of the organizations or the players' unions or the league offices. You can say the Milwaukee Bucks took it upon themselves with the Jacob Blake shooting happening in Wisconsin to be the leaders on this forefront. Milwaukee Buck players decided on their own not to play the game against the Orlando Magic. And this led to a domino effect to where the other teams, including Los Angeles Lakers and LeBron James, also deciding to follow suit and not play their games. This trickle-down effect happened to impact the WNBA as well because they also canceled their games. And the MLS, as a league, put forth a statement, but the players went against the league and actually canceled the games on their own, working together as a unit.
So this raises an interesting shift that we're seeing. And I think sports writer Jemele Hill made a powerful statement in a recent interview where she said, you don't get to disrespect Black bodies in the street and then watch Black bodies for entertainment. So how do you see players' roles and their leverage when it comes to fighting social justice and some of these issues going forward?
I think the players are realizing that their voice needs to be heard. And I think the players also are understanding that their voices are impacting the bottom line, the financials. And so this impact has allowed them to leverage the league owners, who of course are leveraging the policymakers and lawmakers to make changes. And I think the players have realized that the NBA bubble in particular is a platform. It's an opportunity to showcase Black Lives Matter, to showcase political interest, and to enact social change. I think the players are realizing their power and they're using it.
And we are seeing more and more politics coming into this. We saw President Trump and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, decided to weigh in. Trump in a tweet demanding that all sports resume. And Kushner saying this about NBA players, that they're, quote, very fortunate that they have the financial position where they're able to take a night off from work without having to have the consequences. What's your reaction, not just to Kushner's comments, but what it really shows us about some of the misperceptions out there?
I think the misperceptions are prevalent. The NBA players put out a statement that marked down their positions. The three positions were they established a social justice coalition, which is important because it's a collaboration between the NBA players, the league owners, and the league commissioner itself towards finding social justice solutions. On top of that, they have established a partnership with the NBA arenas to serve as polling places for the November election. This increases voter access and also provides large marked locations for the polling places. And then lastly, of course, to designate advertising slots for the NBA playoffs towards serving as civic engagement and voter influence. And so to bring light to where the polling places are. And so this three-pronged approach was never mentioned by Jared Kushner or the presidential comments. And these are things that would add a lot of context and clarity to the statements.
Now, there has been some confusion about the players in solidarity deciding not to play, calling it a boycott versus a strike. What is the most important distinction about that?
The most important distinction is a boycott is a direct, tangible financial contribution that's being withheld. And so similar to the Montgomery boycott, this is not a boycott. This is more of a wildcat strike. And so a strike is where your work stoppage is happening because you are trying to make a political statement. The Milwaukee Bucks, technically, it qualifies as a wildcat strike only on the premise that the strike is under the CBA for the NBA, under Section 30, there's a no strike clause. And so the NBA players as a whole cannot strike. And so this strike was like an unofficial work stoppage. And so that way it falls within the parameters of what's acceptable for a work stoppage and is more of a wildcat strike as compared to an actual strike.
And we have seen some players be more vocal about how they're using their platforms. So talk about some of those powerful and effective ways that you're seeing pro sports players use their platform when it comes to social justice issues.
What I love most about this time is we're seeing players actually put their money to where their mouths are. And we're seeing players who are establishing campaigns for voter registration. Currently, we have 20% of the NBA players who are registered to vote for this upcoming election in November. Chris Paul has put together a campaign to be able to increase voter registration. And this has been followed by LeBron James as well. And so we're seeing players who are actually out there advocating for more voter registration and looking to put ways to get the players more involved, but also to have them focused on what's important, which is going to be the election in November.
And are we seeing overall more financial investment in this space? And what are we looking at, not just from the players, but also some of the leagues as well?
Oh, the leagues have been fantastic. The NFL in particular has committed $250 million over 10 years to combat police brutality, economic reform, and educational progression. And so throughout these tenets with their beliefs towards social justice, there's many opportunities for more money to be pushed towards this system, which is going to lead to increases in voter registration and educational reform opportunities.